wants guns in schools. He said, quote, "In all of our schools, it is illegal to have guns on campus. So again and again, these guys go and shoot up these effing schools because they know there are no guns there. They're monsters killing 6-year-olds. You think the politicians that run my country and your country don't have guns in schools their kids go to? They do, and we should be allowed the same rights," which is one of the more cogent points of the more guns makes more sense arguments. You know, there's, the whole thing, like the well-organized militia thing, in case we fall prey to a dictatorial government, that worked back in the day of muskets. Like, that was fine when people were dealing with musket powder. And when you had the same blunderbuss that the government had, you stood a much better chance of being able to organize your militia into something that could defeat tyranny, should you need to defeat tyranny. Now, let's be real here. A bunch of survivalists hoarding AR-15s and ammunition. If the American government comes after you and you're having some sort of your militia versus them in a military standoff to oppress tyranny, the American Army has air-to-ground support that can put a bullet in every single square inch of a football field in 30 seconds. You and your pea shooter at home aren't going to do a thing about it. The fuel-air bomb. The fuel-air bomb, which essentially, when it's setting your world on fire, is also sucking all the air out of your lungs so you die immediately. The one grenade that you manage to get a hold of is not gonna make a lick of effing difference. So these Second Amendment types, and believe me, it's important that we take the language in the Constitution very seriously. But that is some outdated language just because the military technology it's referring to is outdated. If you want a gun argument, stop hammering on about that. And it's because that Second Amendment gun argument that's the ridiculous one. And gun folks love to lean on it because they go, well, this isn't about, wanting to go duck hunting, because people go, why do you need an AR-15 to hunt ducks? Well, the AR-15 is not to hunt ducks, my friend. The AR-15 is to protect my home against a government that becomes an evil dictatorship. And it's just like, go with guns are awesome, and I'd love to blow the crap out of some ducks and some deer with an AR-15. I think it would be fun. I think it would be cool. And you know what? I'm American, so therefore it is my right. You might not like it, but there's a lot of things that we don't like in America that are rights. That's the thing about freedom. It's messy. And, go with that argument. You really want a valid point that you can prop up and use in an ongoing debate about whether or not you should be allowed to have heavy artillery. That's the one you should be going with. The whole organized militia thing, that ship sailed probably in about 1800. But anyway, I digress. One of the valid cogent points that the gun types have is the one that Vince Vaughn put forward. He said, you think the politicians that run my country and your country don't have guns in schools their kids go to? They do, and we should be allowed the same rights. We should be allowed the same rights. We should be allowed the same rights as politicians. He also said, I support people having a gun in public, full stop, not just in your home. It's well known that the greatest defense against an intruder is the sound of a gun hammer being pulled back. Banning guns is like banning forks in an attempt to stop making people fat. Taking away guns, taking away drugs, and the booze, it won't rid the world of criminality. Unsurprisingly, in liberal Hollywood, Vince Vaughn's opinions got rather unfavorable reviews from a bunch of celebrities, including one who could really, really affect his career moving forward, Judd Apatow, who essentially is the gatekeeper of all things comedic, tweeted, quote, 32,000 people die in the U.S. every year as a result of guns. To say we shouldn't find ways to lower that number is ridiculous. And you know what? It's interesting. I'm sort of on both of their sides because there should be ways to lower the number of gun deaths in America. You're not going to disarm America, but we should work on getting that number down. And I don't think it should be as easy to get a hold of guns as it currently is. But let's take a look at some numbers, some hard facts and figures with regard to guns, gun violence, and gun prevention, or crime prevention by people that have guns, rather. Geraldo weighed in. He said that Vince Vaughn sounded like Timothy McVeigh. That's a bit of a stretch, bit of an exaggeration, but that's sort of how Geraldo's made a career for himself, by stretching the truth and exaggerating, and when it's convenient for him, imagining things. He said, when was the last time you heard of a civilian stopping a crime with a gun? When was the last time you heard of that? Well, actually, it happens thousands of times a day. 2,082, I think, is the average. 2,082 defensive gun uses per day. This number comes from criminologist Gary Kleck's scholarly work at the Florida State University. I wish that number came from a more reputable learning institution and a more reputable state for sanity, but that's where we got it from. But the bottom line is 2,082 defensive gun uses per day. That works out to 760,000 incidences of defensive gun uses a year. Guns are lawfully used by civilians to save lives or thwart burglaries, kidnapping, crime in general, 760,000 times every single year. Yeah. If you're looking for empirical evidence to refute the claim, then, well, there you go. If you want to see individual instances, well, here's a couple that took place back in November through January 15. November 30th, Washington State mother shot an alleged home invader to save her children. December 8th, veteran confined to Walker used a gun to stop home invasion. December 9th, in Antioch, California, a homeowner opened fire on 2 home invaders, stopped the home invasion. December 19th, 14-year-old shot and killed an intruder to save his grandparents. December 20th, a man used a handgun in self-defense when confronted by an armed robber outside an Ohio mall. He killed the would-be robber, ending the attack. December 26th, Good Samaritan witnessed domestic attack, pulled a pistol, and held the man at gunpoint until police arrived. December 27th, a home invader put a gun to a woman's neck in Memphis. The invader was shot and killed by the homeowner. Now then, there's no doubt that guns in America stop a significant number of crimes. So let's have a meet-in-the-middle, reasonable conversation about how we can get guns out of the hands of the psychotic killers, or just the idiot moron rednecks that you see having gun accidents on YouTube. Google that. It'll make you in fear of your life, given in mind who we give guns to. And let's talk a little bit about how we can control who has them. I wish we had more time. We'll get into it next week. Have yourself an awesome one. One of those times I don't think you're